Ni hao, annyeong. Hello, I am the Dark Fae, and welcome back to Confessions of a First-Time Dungeon Master. As always, if you missed the last session, I'll put a link to it up in the corner for you over here. You can go catch up on what you missed, then come back here to find out what happened next. We are now in session 45, so let's begin. Alright, so this session we started off with a bit more discussion. The party has kind of the company of Fernay and the Umber Lord for a little bit longer, and they're kind of free to ask questions, make inquiries about some of the things that they've encountered before. Since Basil had some previous questions with Asmodeum, asked him a little bit about kind of the orbs and kind of some of the history of the warforged and any advice or tips on like what they could do to locate them, him, it, her, they don't know. And Asmodeum does have a fairly good sense of what the warforged is going to be doing and where they're going, but because of his like mental binding, his affliction, he can't really divulge all of the details, but eventually they kind of agree on going to go hunt the warforged, and they have like a little bit of discussion of whether or not they really need to tell Wistria, which Asmodeum kind of tells them that it's probably a good idea to do so, because even though like a goddess's word is pretty binding, it's important to make sure that you get the goddess's word. So there was like a little thing where Puck, our new member, like the deal that he proposed was that they go and stop the warforged, and in return for Wistria bringing Valkyrie back to life, which I might have like not realized in the moment as a DM because I was thinking about a lot of different things at the time, and I'm not sure if that's really in Wistria's wheelhouse to honor bringing someone back to life, because the most she can really do is release the soul, and then it's kind of up to the soul and to find its way back and you know, come back to life. So she is like indirectly kind of responsible for allowing Valkyrie to come back to life, but I don't think she will be actually doing the actual casting. Also because I feel like for the resurrection ritual, that's something that they should try and like kind of go through in order to bring her back, but we'll see. So they do ask a bit more details about it, and Wistria just kind of confirm a little bit, maybe hinting that this warforged is in fact maybe going after one of her orbs up in the Frigid Wastes, which is up kind of to very far up in the northwestern area of Seth Kalios, the continent. And she also ends up giving, like once they accept, she ends up giving them an amulet, which is this sort of orb suspended in the middle of a few different rings that will kind of rotate and spin. And she mentions that once they get closer to it, the rings will kind of start spinning, and if they focus, the orb will kind of might be able to like push them in a direction. So it's like a rudimentary kind of locate creature kind of a spell, and as well as kind of a almost like a divining rod for the Warforged. There's a specific reason why she is able to kind of make this and provide this for them, but I'm not going into that much detail with them. They don't really know. Okay, so once they kind of make the deal with Wistria, and this is kind of in the morning, I think, of the second day that they've stayed at the safe house. Asmodeum kind of offers or attempts to scry on the warforged. I keep rolling amazing charisma saving throws, so it unfortunately doesn't take, but he offers to send them to the town, or kind of the city of Sinesk, which is in kind of the southwesterny corner of Hasdara Manok, which is the closest like main city to the northern part of the Nezareth Mountains and the Frigid Wastes. So once there, they can potentially find a guide and start tracking this guy, since they don't have a terribly long time to find this warforged. Ormric did cast Gentle Repose on Valhyrie, which I believe adds 10 days. I could put the spell here. Adds a few, puts this body in a suspended kind of state and adds, I think, 10 days onto kind of the time limit they have in order to be able to raise somebody from the dead. And raise dead, I believe, is a limit of 7 days, 10 days, something. So Asmodeum teleports them there, and they find themselves kind of on the outskirts of the city of Sinesk. And Sinesk in Hasdara Manok is kind of cloaked in this kind of shadowy veil that kind of covers the sky so that direct sunlight doesn't get through, because Hasdara Manok is mostly inhabited by Drow and Duergar, so with their sunlight sensitivity, they tend to have it covered. But this city is a mining town, and it is kind of known for its mining of a special ore that comes from the petrified forests that are kind of situated on the city's edge, called Arcancelite, or Arcan for short. And it's a bit, I kind of took the idea from Critical Role of Residuum, where when it's refined, it can kind of function as a replacement for spell components, as well as being used to kind of imbue magical artifacts, etc., to kind of help enhance spellcasting or magic power, etc. So there's that. And so then the party kind of enters the city looking for information, and the first thing they kind of notice is that the city's kind of on high alert right now. It's very tense in the air, and so they can enter, they can kind of see why, because the western, like half-western wing of the city has been totaled. It's been destroyed. Buildings have just been razed to the ground. People are still kind of digging through all of the rubble, still finding bodies and such in the wreckage. And from their kind of investigation and their digging, they kind of discover that this destruction seemed to have been done by one tall, kind of stocky person, cloaked, kind of a plain average human face, wearing heavy armor and carrying a large sword and shield, and that they had swung into town a few days ago and just abruptly went berserk and killed a bunch of people, destroyed a bunch of buildings, had some magic around him, and then went north into the wastes. So they kind of are thinking that this might be their guy. I don't know if any of them recognize the description, because mild spoilers, but back in the Siskorian Keep, there was a mysterious, tall, heavily armored, cloaked figure who returned Ivar's shield for the Harvest Festival as a prize. And that's actually the same person. And the hint was that they went northwest, and now they're here. That was like over a week or so ago, and the reason it's taken him so long is partly just the traveling by foot, and then he stopped a little bit to lay waste to some cities. So So the party kind of talk with a few of the guards who were kind of in the fight as well, and then eventually make their way to the captain of the guard here in the city, Captain Nyrabrax, who is a drow fellow with kind of, deep purple skin, uh, short, kind of silvery white hair, armor, and he, and here's a weird thing that keeps happening because the party likes to, as they say, do things for favors, but favors are different than being paid. So they don't really have a lot of money, especially since with not being able to kill Kane, they didn't get paid for that. So whenever they go on quests, it's like they always ask for like loaners or like things to help them. And if I'm really honest, there's not a lot of reason why people would be willing to just give it to them when they have no idea who they are. So that was kind of something that I think I could have dealt with better, but I was also just like, yeah, okay, it'll make sense. The captain's like pretty eager for like justice for the city, so they're offering to kind of go and, um, they're not really offering because they already are doing it, but they're saying that they are going to go and, uh, stop whoever it was that destroyed the city and like bring back their body or proof, whatever, that they dealt with them to help afford the citizen peace. So the captain then kind of agrees to help set them up for their journey, see if what he can scrounge up. And he also kind of points them in the direction of a guide, a dark dwarven fellow named Merrigan, who is known for kind of taking parties up into the Frigid Wastes for those who want to go there to like explore or excavate or treasure hunt in the kind of different various ruin sites that do exist. Bit like Cross, things are I got a bit influenced from the things I watch and the things I play in. So, eventually the party do set up like an expedition with Merrigan, the cost of which this would be a very expensive, trip, but a lot of the cost is being fronted by either the captain or, will kind of be dealt with after they get back. So, yeah, I don't know, they're broke, and I'm not like trying to like throttle them of money, but they just don't, just need to stop doing things for favors, honestly. Like, they're not really, in Fairnay's eyes, their patron, they're not really doing it right because you don't do like things for favors until you yourself are like well off and like comfortable enough that you don't really need the money to do the things that like you need to do. Like she has a whole organization and shit backing her. Like she's very comfortable with foregoing payment and just asking people to owe her later. The party, however, is not really like that. So I don't know, hard to really give them stuff when they don't accept the money for it. I don't know. Anyways, so we basically left off with the party spending the night in this weird, like, not nighttime situation, but leaving at first light, which is, kind of judging off of their internal clocks. So they're going to meet with the captain and Merrigan at the barracks to see kind of what they can be offered. They do buy some like cold weather clothing, which is good because it is gonna be cold, and I'm kind of excited to start prepping this kind of icy journey. Historically, travel has been kind of a sore point, I think, and I've noticed that in like quite a few different campaign settings, where people just kind of tend to skip over travel if no one's doing anything. So I'm kind of taking inspiration from the way that Amherst doing it in Critical Role for their campaign 2 right now, since they're kind of also up in this icy landscape of Isocross and kind of coming up with a list of encounters and having them roll on a d20 chart, and then seeing whatever they roll is kind of like what happens for the day. So it could be an encounter, it could be their journey is slowed down or sped up, but we'll see if they're able to catch him, because one of the stipulations that Wistria gave too was that they had to stop the warforged before he completed his task, aka destroyed the orb. So if they don't do that, Valhiri's soul is still kind of forfeit. And yeah, I'm curious. I think they're kind of hopeful that they won't have to necessarily kill the warforged, but I mean, we'll see. They'll see. So that was kind of session 45, kind of a lot of prep and question asking and quest prep, kind of quest build up. And so next time I think they'll be actually getting out into the frozen tundra. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for notifications when I put out new videos. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!